Okay, now I think we are live, and I'm going to. I see Bob in the waiting room. Bob, you're invited to come join me. Look for some notification that says invite on stage. Um, but what our topic is today, hey, there he is. That worked. Bob, I was just talking to myself a minute ago because we weren't live yet. That I apologize that you guys are a little bit guinea pigs and me figuring out how to get this thing to work. But Bob, I will be putzing around with various pieces of the webinar functionality as we go, and apologize in advance for using our live participants as guinea pigs. But welcome for everybody on here live, and for all those who are getting ready to, who are logging in as we speak. But Bob, our subject matter right now is how to make this your best summer ever, and you know, I see a number of the people who are on here have followed us for quite a while, and have been even some of our members are here. But I wanted to kind of go through 3 points and keep it kind of short and sweet today as we figure out how to do all this stuff. And if I'm kind of disjointed, it's because I'm trying to figure out how to share handouts and share videos and so forth, which I have no idea how to do. So we shall see if I can figure that out as we are going. But the thing I think that we find, and you're talking to a lot more martial arts schools on the front line than I am, but I would not hesitate to say that an awful lot of school owners think that right now through middle or end of August are their slowest periods of the time. Is that a fair assessment when you're talking to them? And you have no audio, so I guess the answer was yes. And you'll figure out if you can figure out how to unmute yourself or join in by audio, or just how to go away altogether, I guess. But anyway, so starting with that, here's what I'm going to say is, from a marketing standpoint, we've had summer be the most fruitful time of year for years now. Very highly productive, lots of things we can do, lots of good opportunities. From a student retention standpoint, we have very little, if any, problems on student retention. And any of those of you who have followed me for a while, I'm not too charitable about what I refer to as the bozo explosion, meaning the myriad of people in our industry who are running around giving advice, but much of it is bad. And I want to narrow in on one type of advice that gets thrown around the industry to start out with, because it's where it's particularly obnoxious. Is you see a lot of the coaches and consultants who, even if they're martial artists, they adopt a fitness center, fitness industry mentality. And I've been seeing, online, a lot of them talking about working with the top guys and the coaches and consultants in the fitness business, and going to the fitness business, conventions and so forth. And I cycled through that business a little bit very early on in my career. But I can tell you it's exactly the wrong paradigm for a martial arts school. And what has been happening with all of the coaches and consultants, and even when they were more relevant anyway, the big billing companies doing consulting, is there was a movement towards getting rid of a solid sales process, so a solid introductory enrollment renewal process. There was a movement towards getting away from regular enrollment agreements. And that movement was oftentimes either month-to-month enrollments or a period of time automatically renewable with a 30-day cancellation. And my take on that is, I see all the time as I kind of watch around on, Facebook and different places and the discussion forums, I see all the time, I see school owners whining about, a third of their student body quitting over the summer, and all of a sudden their billing is down and their revenue is down, and one thing or another. And the answer to that is easy, is there's no reason in the world for that to happen in any way, shape, or form, except that you shot yourself in the foot by making incremental step after incremental step after incremental step that encouraged people to leave and come back or leave and not come back rather than be consistent and solid. And so as you go away from a predominantly goal-oriented system where you're targeting training to black belt and beyond, when you go away from at least a 6 or 12 month or more trial enrollment commitment, when you go away from an organized renewal process, and when you add even to a normal agreement, you add, cancel anytime, just give us 5 days notice, give us 30 days notice or whatever. When you start doing that, all of a sudden what you do is you encourage people to train, say they'll come back, cancel their payments, cancel their program, and then as you find with great pain later, they really don't come back, right? We don't have that. We will, prior to the start of the summer, we'll have chats with all the students. They're on a 2-month, 16 lesson plan on their belt cycles. So we'll have the conversation with their ID card. What's your plans for the summer? When are you going to be traveling or out of town? Let's plan now. Oh, you're going to be gone these 2 weeks. Great. Let's get 3 lessons in for the 2 weeks before you leave. Let's get 3 lessons in when you come back, and you're right on schedule. Oh, you're going to be gone for a month. Okay, let's adjust your testing schedule, and then let's schedule what your next class is after you return, and let's do some progress updates and progress checks when you come back. And then on occasion, we don't get it very often, but when they say, do I keep paying over the summer? You say, well, yeah, the tuition just is the same, but we add that time to your program as a makeup if they're going to be gone a significant period of time. And it's not a problem. They don't, pardon me, I have a little bit of a cough. They don't argue the point. They don't worry about it. They don't get frustrated. They still make their payments. Bob, I'll let you back in again. I guess when you bailed out, it wouldn't let you back in until I approved you yet again. So here we go.
Yeah, how about now?
You have audio. You have audio.
Yeah, I said it was on. Anyways, I'll explain.
Or you don't.
No audio? No? Now you're froze. Is that me? Well, hell. I don't know.
Well, hell, I'm back. Bob, you still there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good. I have officially Florida weather here today. I have a horrible thunderstorm.
You froze again. Master Oliver, I think you're frozen up again. There may be a bad connection. All right, looks like he is reconnecting now. And we lost him. It's an adventure, sir.
Well, I apologize to everybody. Bob,
yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, you keep freezing up, sir. Unless it's my end, it's always hard to tell. Oh,
This
there
is
you are
this is
back.
this is it. Okay, am I back?
Yes, sir, you are back. I saw Harry had suggested maybe I just put you on my speakerphone and talk that way. So if you go out again, I don't
Yeah,
know.
you know what it is. I'm having Florida hurricane weather, except the Colorado version. We have one of those rare, massive hail, thunderstorm, lightning. My home internet connection went dead. I'm actually tethered to my cell phone, so we shall see how well my AT&T service works on this, and try to accomplish some progress.
Yes.
It's just insane. But anyway,
Well,
where was I when we were so
yeah. Well,
rudely interrupted?
that's me, but I didn't have audio. Apparently, for some reason now, this new program you chose is definitely got a learning curve. So,
That's
but
it.
yeah.
That's it. Blame me. This new program you chose. Yeah. Okay.
Anyway,
It,
but yeah, I
it,
mean, the question was of people that I speak with out there in the industry, and you're right. During the summertime, they lock down. I mean, I got to tell you, the retention is horrible, and they admittedly just plan on losing sometimes 20% of their student base. Right? Everybody's going
yeah.
away on vacation, and then because of that, what they'll do is they'll stop any paid marketing and not spend any money because they literally know they won't be able to do anything, and then won't start it back up until back to school in August and so forth.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so they
And
just
by the
hunker
way, you hear the same
down.
thing
Yeah,
about November,
they hunker
December,
down and
don't you?
hibernate, and hopefully they stay alive during the summertime. Is how many of them are, and it's sad because there's so much opportunity out there
Yeah.
for them to really drum up a lot of business. Like our guys, I mean, they do
Yeah.
phenomenal during the summertime.
And by the way, the other thing they do is they bust their ass doing summer camps all summer.
Mm.
And I mean, Jeff Smith and I have this debate. I just freaking hate summer camps. He likes them a little bit, within a range. What I find is people who can't figure out how to run their school, 12 months a year profitably and successfully. What they have a tendency to do is throw on other things that really aren't the same business in order to try to make money on those months. And I had a client for years who was doing $7 million in the daycare after school, transport business, and he did $1 million every summer on revenue on summer camps. But I got to tell you, as a way to generate revenue over the summer, is your martial arts school can do just as well, if not better. And what we were just having a one of our client meetings is I was telling them is honestly is summer is a great time for internal events and for referrals, especially in the kids market. You know, they're all out of school and looking for things to do, and it's a great time to get all kinds of interesting referral activities and get that kind of stuff to go on. But I think one of the important things in the summer is to have a lot of that kind of stuff for the students and to have them bring their friends. Obviously, that's a retention and a marketing tool, and have a lot of just fun and interesting things so that they're not distracted with the other things to do over the summer, but come into your school. And of course, you're going to have, to actually be in an area where, it's realistic that people take a month, 2 months off, and they're gone for the summer and so forth. I know you have a few kids with divorced parents, or they're with the grandparents for the summer and so forth. But mostly, people are gone for a week or two. It's not that big a deal. And we already addressed that as far as prepping for ahead of time. Most of what I was going to do, though, in the midst of my thunderstorm, hail, high winds, stuff going on, at least at, my hometown, Tulsa, they had 200,000 people without power all week. So it is not that bad. But I can't remember the last time I actually blew out the internet in the house because of weather. But anyway, so we wanted to talk about summer marketing as the rest of the topic. But summer is getting your headset right, getting your mindset right, and knowing that this could be the most fruitful time of the year. Is certainly not the slowest time of the year, and it's a wonderful time to really ramp up the level of energy in the school, get your students bringing their friends, have lots of special activities, have lots of fun and exciting activities in the school, and to make sure before they leave and after they come back that you've gone through with everybody, and when they're going to come back, you keep them on track for their lessons, you keep them on track for their testing cycle. And by the way, if you don't have a good testing cycle and you don't have a good tracking on that, you've got an awful lot of other problems. And I had a couple things I was
Oliver, you and Dr. Brush over, when you say go through all of them, you mean personally talk with the families and find out what's coming up and then resolve that, or address it before it actually happens. So I didn't want to glance over that because I know some of the people may not have really caught that part of it, having in that one-on-one conversation with the students and the parents.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Hey, let's see if this works. I'm not sure my internet problems are going to interfere with this or not, but I have a little video I wanted to share with people. Let's see if this.
Well, I'm host.
Bob, you're
I can't put myself. I can't put myself into.
Well, let me just solve another.
I'll give you a call. Like this one's a newer version than yours. Hey, everybody.
Hey, guys. It's going to take us a second, but this is literally the recording. Okay, let's get going here. Everybody, welcome clients. Willie. And so I he is a past long time with everybody. Well, I guess for about a year member who's thumping at us here again a little bit. And Houston. Scott, you've been on a couple of meetings since you made your great return from the dead, like Lazarus returning. Or is that the Phoenix from the fire or whatever it was? I think maybe it was both, if I remember correctly. Scott, you've had some pretty good off to the races moments already this month. Give everybody an update.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So when I came back from the Colorado meeting, I was fired up. And as I was saying last week, we just, I'm in a really good location. So I have the blessing of not having to market all the time, and I still get a decent amount of traffic flow. But I decided to market, so we did a lot of marketing. We did a movie event, running Facebook ads. We did a buddy event. And so we got a lot of big boost of traffic for June. My goal, I came home from your event and just set a goal for 100 students in June, July, in 90 days, June, July, and August. And then I changed, I raised my prices. I was at $297, so I bumped it up to $347. And then I was, as I was saying last week, Master Oliver, you weren't here, but I went over some old notes that I took of you and Grandmaster Smith and Master Moody about just sales and stuff like that. And I studied that. So I did all those things. And then I've signed up 34 students in 20 days.
Okay, you're on track.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right on track to add 100. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Where did most of the traffic come from?
Buddy event was big. We haven't had one of those ever. So my wife made some buddy passes. We handed them out, and a lot of our students are on vacation, but still, they're still trickling in too. Buddy events, Facebook is doing well for us. The movie event, we're still rolling those in, but that was probably the least of the three. And then we still get a decent amount of organic traffic. So, yeah, I think it's like that. I don't have actual numbers yet for the month, but that's where we're at as a running total anyway.
I think that's an important thing to mention, that you did a bunch of stuff. The movie event, for a lot of people, that's their home run. But in your case, it wasn't a home run. But because you had enough stuff going, that's what the Parthenon effect is. So everybody hear that. Movie events are often big home runs, and they probably will next time. But if you have enough stuff, it works. If you only depend on one thing, then that's when you get in trouble.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, this month on the movies, now that you mention it.
And I'll stop that right there. But I wanted to point that out because that was recorded, as I said. It even had on the video there. It was recorded Tuesday at noon Mountain, 2 Eastern, so 2 days ago, and that was numbers for June so far. And it's what we had done with Scott and a number of our other members is we'd gotten together for a couple of days, and we had done, among other things, a plan for adding 100 net new students over the summer, and put together, what I call a Parthenon. So, that's the facade of Wall Street, but you get the idea, a whole bunch of different pillars to drive traffic. And one of the things that we had, critiqued him about, frankly, and by the way, he's a $70,000 a month school on track to be $150,000 a month school by the end of the year with the track we've got him on now in 6 weeks, or even less than 6 weeks. But but I wanted to share that because, again, an awful lot of people think June's bad, or they think July is bad, or they think August is bad. And, in many, 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 many cases, we're going to have schools that hit 100 net new. And when I say net, I mean after dropouts. So if they have 200 students now, they'll have 300. If they have 100 students now, they'll have 200 actively training every week. Not just they'll do a bunch of flaky summer enrollments or something. And these are all going to be, $600 to $800 initially. They're going to be $297 to $347 or more per month. A 12-month, what I consider a trial enrollment, but a 12-month enrollment. And we're doing this over and over and over again. The other video I wanted to show people, and it's not as recent, but it was the first quarter of the year. Which I will see if I can pull off. We are in kind of a humorous confluence of errors. But assuming my internet doesn't crap out again, we'll see if I get the right one. Can you see that, Bob?
No, sir.
There we go. Yeah.
No, there you go.
Yeah, that's the right one. But I wanted to play this conversation. This was a school who added 150 students in 5 months.
It's kind of a blurry screen. Is it loading?
It's uncooperative. Let's see here. Well, if you ever wanted proof that many people are not perfect, you have that, and I will fully take the blame for the new system that I don't know how to use. So let's see if this works.
Just need audio.
So the audio is not going.
No, sir.
Well, we will give up on that one. What I was going to show is a video. This is Ben Brown. He's in California. The other gentleman is in Texas. He did 150 net new students January, February, March, April this year. I think this recording was 30 days ago. So in the first quarter of the year, he went from 260 students from 110 students. And again, it's just an example. I mean, his case doesn't exactly tie directly to summer. Scott's case is, this is month to date, where he was through Monday night. But there's just tremendous opportunities over the summer. And I want to point out 3 or 4 of those opportunities, if my connection now tethered to my cell phone cooperates, is I already mentioned one, which are internal referral events. And Scott mentioned that. They did a big buddy event, had a great turnout. This is after school has been out. A lot of people are on vacation. Still, they had a great buddy event and they generated a lot of traffic. The other thing that he mentioned was movie theater promotions. And I want to go back to Bozo Explosion. And I don't mean to be too harsh, and a lot of these people are friends of mine, but I was watching. In fact, I was talking to our mutual friend Bob, former client, former staff member of mine, Toby Milroy, and we were commiserating on one of the people who's a consultant. I won't say his name. I'm not sure. Toby wants me to be as brutal as I would be in tendency. But one of the coaches and consultants who, does live booths and then does water bottles with labels branded for their school and hands out water bottles and then does birthday parties and brags about how much revenue they do on birthday parties, which I could give a shit about the revenue directly from birthday parties. But then what they said, and I unfortunately watched a little video that he did, is all they do is put guest passes in the gift bags and send them home, not wanting to bug them, so that if they want to do lessons, they'll come back and they'll think of them. Now, in both of those cases, and in a couple of other cases, I have a friend of mine who does coaching and runs around teaching people how to run their school. And I've had the conversation with him and his team any number of times, trying to get them to be effective with live events and with movie theater promotions and so forth. And they never are. But they miss the components that make it work. If you wanted to just write down a couple of rules, you never leave an interaction with somebody, no matter how short or no matter how brief, without getting their full contact information. Preferably that's full name, mailing address, email address, and mobile phone number. In most cases, the phone number people give you nowadays will be a mobile anyway. But you never want to leave the interaction without having their contact information. The second thing that we know for sure is that nowadays people don't like to answer incoming calls if they don't know who it is. So, the rate of getting hold of somebody by trying to follow up after an event is just abysmal, unless you get your contact record in their phone so that they know who's calling, and that's a whole different conversation. But we never leave an interaction at an event without having a definitive appointment for the next follow-up with them. And in most cases, with a new student prospecting, that's going to be they have a definite or at least a penciled-in appointment for their introductory class. And if you anchored that in, you never go out to do any kind of event and just pass out literature. You never go and do a demo and just pass out literature. You're always going to want, if it's a school environment or a daycare or something, you always want permission slips. If it's a booth of some sort, whether it's in a movie theater or at a July 4th event or something like that, number one, you want them to give you full contact information. You want to make an appointment with everybody on the spot. And I used to not do that. In fact, I wish I knew then what I know now. That's Bob, that's like my first book, Everything I Wish I Knew When I Was 22. I should add this to it. But we used to just generate, lead slips, and then we would put people on the phones and call them. And to my defense, back in the day, I mean, I remember one time we had a Boy Scout jamboree and we had 3 leaf bags full of, slips. But I had a big staff. I divided them up pretty much evenly, put people on the phone on Sunday night, and we could get hold of 90% of the people. Nowadays, you'd probably get hold of 5% doing outbound calls, right? But you fix that by, number one, making an appointment on the spot, and number two, sharing your contact record immediately, which can be done by, there's all kinds of devices to share with the NFT, if you know what that is, near field. I think that's what it's called, near field something or other. Or you can do it with a QR code. Or you can just, hey, this number is your mobile. Yes, I'm texting your contact record. Tap it and put add to contacts. So in any kind of live event marketing, what the bozo explosion misses, one is you never just pass out stuff. Two is you never leave without having their full contact information. Number three, you never leave without making an appointment, even if it's a penciled in tentative appointment. And number four, you always get your contact record into their phone. So if you're calling them and they're ignoring you, at least they know, that they're ignoring you, and not just that they're not answering the phone because it's an unknown number. And I wanted to hit two or three things like that. But what I think what gets missed, especially in the kids market, is, I have personally enrolled, what would you guess, Bob? Maybe 10,000 students over the years from elementary school outreach programs. But yeah, at least public and private schools with, Catholic schools, Montessori schools, mostly public schools. But what I would say is the nice thing about summer is the kids mostly aren't in school, but there's all kinds of other places you can find them. You can find them at day camps. You can find them at summer camps, tech camps. My son's at a tech camp today where they're learning 3D modeling and, how to use a 3D printer and, and do all the graphics and so forth, stuff that I don't understand or won't be able to do myself for sure. But there's all kinds of camps, summer camps, sports camps, Bible camps, churches, daycares, elementary schools. Yeah. And then there's, go ahead.
I was just including YMCA's. You're right. I mean, they're all over the place, and they're starving for help and activity.
Yeah. And then in addition to that, we've had, and it was alluded to in that recording, huge results with movie co-promotions. And I used to think, again, all the things I wish I knew, but I used to think it had to be a martial arts movie. I remember I was probably the only one in the country who was ready and ramped up to do co-promotions with Karate Kid 1 when it came out, because nobody really knew that was going to be a hit. And the reason I knew to do that was Jun-Ri was friends with Bruce Lee, and I had heard the stories of all the stuff they did with Enter the Dragon. So, I borrowed from my mentor, may he rest in peace, and implemented a massive promotion starting with Karate Kid 1. But I was geared up, spent the most money, and was ramped up the most on Karate Kid 4. And I think 3 people, and one of them was Hilary Swank's mother, went to that movie. However, it happened to be on the same weekend as the first Batman movie with Michael Keaton. And that movie broke all kinds of box office records on the opening weekend. It turned out to be the most successful movie promotion we had ever done, while Karate Kid 4, wasn't just straight to video. It was probably straight to streaming on some streaming service in northern China or something like that. But so movie blockbuster promotions, I think most recently Brian Burtney and Yana, what did they do? 150 appointments in 2 or 3 days with the Mario Brothers movie. And we had a number of people, I haven't heard stats back yet, who were out there this weekend for Elemental and The Flash. Now, to be fair, that was where the rest of the video was going there. Flash and Elemental both didn't do very well relative to what the expectations were. But Spider-Man was kicking ass, and Guardians was still bringing in numbers, and to some extent, Little Mermaid was bringing in numbers. And so there was still a massive opportunity there. But so if you don't know how to do live event marketing the right way, and you listen to the advice you get from, again, not too charitably calling the bozo explosion, you go out there, you say, oh, yeah, somebody told me this movie thing is great, but it doesn't work. And by the way, the movie thing, Bob, I said for years, I've been doing this since Karate Kid 1 with great results. and nobody else in the Denver metro market ever even copied me. I was always shocked. They should have been smart enough to, at least figure out what I was doing and clone it. But I've had a couple of exceptions. There was at the Promenade in Westminster and at the Belmar Theater in Lakewood. I've been there with my son, and there were other people. There was other martial arts schools, people I don't particularly know, doing booths. And I got to tell you, it showed me why they mostly say, "Oh, this doesn't work." In one case, it was, and in both cases, it was high school or college kids sitting behind the booth waiting for somebody to come talk to them, right? And they didn't have all the elements that we would have in a booth to attract traffic, and they didn't have a system in place to capture leads. They didn't have a system in place to make appointments. They didn't have a system in place to convert them to appointments. And I'm sure the feedback was from the kids who are running the booth back to the owner who paid for the thing, and they probably paid $1,000 for the weekend, that, oh, this doesn't work. And what they probably told them is, oh, there were hardly any people there, and not very many people were in their martial arts. But if one of our guys had been there, they would have had 150 appointments on either time. One of them was opening weekends for Guardians of the Galaxy, for God's sake, and the other one was opening weekend for Mario Brothers, if I remember correctly. And the place was packed, and the guy running the booth was not talking. Probably in 3 hours, I didn't stay there and watch them the entire time. Probably talked to one or two people. So it was just absolutely abysmal results. Hey, and again, apologies for everybody who suffered through my loss of internet connection. I have another handout. We'll see if it allows me to share it without kicking everybody off. And by the way, if you have any questions here, just ask in the chat. We already have 3 or 4 that I wanted to make sure I get to. But any questions at all, feel free to just jump into the chat and ask whatever you want. We'll try to get to it as we go here. What I will say is, here we go. I managed to figure, maybe, we'll see. Maybe I didn't. Well, we shall see. We'll see if this works. I hate to sound like amateur hour, but as you pointed out, Bob, we did try a different system here, and we'll see how it cooperates or fails to cooperate here. But what I was going to say is I have a complete marketing checklist that we put together. I'd be happy to share it with you. I was trying to set up as a handout so people can download it as we go, and I seem to be incompetent on that as well. We shall see if it cooperates in any way, shape, or form. And I was also going to share a direct scheduling link. Bob, you did share your phone number. Tell everybody what your phone number is again.
Yes, sir. It's 720-256-0208.
Yeah. So what I would suggest is give Bob a call. We're happy to talk to any and everybody. Give you some advice on growing your school. I'll share these handouts that I have so far been incompetent in getting the system to cooperate with. Bob, I think we need to do a lot more training before we try this again. But I will share that. What I will tell everybody is we're getting ready to launch something I haven't done. In fact, Bob, I think the answer would be ever, if I were to say that right. What we have never done is a short-term, low-cost, one quick outcome type of thing for people. For those who know, I mean, for 15, 20 years now, I have only done very exclusive, high-end, some might say pricey. I wouldn't say pricey because our return on investment is 20 or 30 to 1. But all that we have done for years now is, probably low brain damage on my side, high-end, high-level schools with small group and individual coaching. But what we are going to launch here right away is basically 6 weeks to add 100 new students to your school. Now, you heard Scott talking about the mission was 100 students in 90 days. And what I will tell you is really the intent is to ramp up a really aggressive 6-week personal and small group session where I work with a limited number of people to give you all the tools to add a net 100 students over the summer. And obviously we're starting into the end of July, so we've got to get, rolling right away. And, if I were to promise you're going to add 100 students in 6 weeks, it might be a little over promising, but the idea of adding 100 students in 3 months, so July, August, September, is completely doable. And to have July and August be two of the, the biggest months of the year. So the handout I was going to give everybody, just for free with or without participating in that is, that complete marketing checklist, Bob. It's a 3-page marketing checklist of all the things you can do. I seem to be incompetent on getting the system to share it right now. But if you give Bob a call,
720-256-0208. And we also have a number of other I seem to have a lot of feedback, but I have right up there. I would urge everybody to go click on that if you haven't visited there, and put your information in, so we can also get you some additional gifts.
Yeah. But the main thing is whether you just want to ask a couple questions, get some specific advice that's specific to your school and your situation, no charge obligation, whether you might be a good fit for our higher level program, or whether you would, this first time only, maybe last time, we'll see how it goes. This first time thing of the process to add 100 new students. And it's going to be a 6-week program, but it's going to put all the pieces in place for you to do that within the next 3 months. And I had somebody, my record for appointments in a weekend is 60 to 70. I keep hearing schools doing 100, 150. Am I missing anything in my process? Should I go more days?
My question would have been, how many people were you in front of, right? So if you were in front of 70, that's not bad.
Yeah. Well, and the right answer to the question is, I really have no idea without us chatting. And so I'd be happy to just give Bob a call, and we'll put the time on the schedule, and we'll go through the process. What we're finding consistently is if you're in a big multiplex, or if you're in a big event, and of course it's always going to depend upon how many people are there, as Bob said, and what the makeup of the audience is. I talked to a school owner one time, and they did what's the Irish green beer? I forget what the holiday. St. Patty's Day. They did a St. Patty's Day event that pretty much was 100% occupied by 20-somethings who were drunk. That's not a good target audience. But if you're in a place where you have a good target audience and you have a good flow, we've been getting huge numbers. And the numbers might be, to be fair, is if I get 150 appointments, I'll have 75 of them show up. I'll have 35 to 40 of them enroll. So I can go out to one big event and do that. And those videos I tried to share, I posted the YouTube channel. It's on there in the discussion board. I would recommend you subscribe to the channel. There's a lot of great free information there and so forth. But as far as Nathaniel, whether you're doing all the pieces well or not, give Bob a call. We'll be happy to sit down and walk through it. Again, no charge and no obligation. But what I am going to do is we're going to do a 6-week intensive. It is going to be how to add a net 100 students to your school. And the program's going to be planned to be 6 weeks, but it'll give you all the tools you need to do that in 6 weeks to 90 days. You saw the conversation with Scott. He's on track to do 100 students in 90 days over the summer. The other video I was going to show you was Ben, who did 150 students in 5 months. And I'm talking net new students, and I'm talking about on real enrollments, not on some flaky, 6-week thing or something like that. These are real enrollments. But that's going to be the structure. Is we're going to run and it'll be intensive every week, A to Z, nothing held back, and really show everybody how to add 100 new students in 6 weeks. And by the way, also we'll comp everybody what we call the complete fill your school program, which I don't know, Bob, what do we sell that for by itself? $1,500 or something like that?
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll comp you that as well. But this is going to be small interactive group. I'm going to be working with you personally. Jeff Smith, Greg Moody, Bob Dunne be working with you personally. But we're going to do the A to Z about how to have the biggest summer ever. And again, unlike everything else I'm doing, it's going to be a relatively low price point, and it's going to be a short and intensive. And honestly, the reason we're doing it is an awful lot of the students or the school owners that we get, our students, but an awful lot of people we get that raise our hand, and Bob is last count, 85% don't really qualify to do what it is we're doing at the high level. And so if a school is $7,000 a month, $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month, they're not really at the point that we're going to do our ongoing, martial arts wealth mastery coaching with them. But if you're at 40 students, or you're at 60 students, or you're at 100 students, what might be I think it'd be the best option. Why we did it is to take people who don't qualify for our program and get them to the point where, in our own self-interested way, they do qualify if they want to do it. And Bob, that's our behind the scenes conversation is, what do we do with the 80% that we refuse to work with? Is let's go see if we can add 100 students to their top line and add $25,000 or $30,000 revenue to their top line, so that then they fully qualify to work with us. Nathaniel, I'm sorry. The only thing I might add is you want to walk through the process and make sure that all the pieces are there. And again, we're gonna make sure we detail out what all the pieces are there. Again, I mean, if you get 60 or 70 appointments in a weekend, and that turns into 30 to 50 intros, and that turns into 25 to 40 enrollments, hell, that's worth the time and money. And I do that all day long. However, what we often find with people we start to work with is usually they're missing one or two small pieces that turns into that slight edge that makes all the difference in the world, right? I'll give you an example. It's not the live event marketing, but for years, going all the way back to like 1983, I was going into elementary schools and doing what I called PE teacher for the day, and it ended up being picked up and being called school talks. And so I would talk to school owners who were doing lots of school talks, and they were 100% frustrated with the number of results and the number of people they were getting from it. And it felt like a lot of time and effort for very little results. But they missed two components. When I did it, where the program came from is we went into the PE teacher for the day and taught 100% of the kids in the school, not Mrs. Jones's third grade class. And number two, ahead of time, we got permission slips. So we had name, address, and phone number for everybody. And then as people got more sensitive about being cold called, we added one more point, which was a checkbox of all the kids who participate in our program today will receive 2 free weeks of lessons and a free uniform. If you'd like to be contacted to schedule an appointment, check here. Then once we had permission, we could call them. And if we didn't get permission, we would direct mail them and email them and perhaps text them, but not cold call them. And so the difference between going from 30 kids to 500, but then the difference between leaving with 80% of the school as leads, so 500 kids, 400 permission slips, was night and day. So now one elementary school produced 40 or 50 enrollments sometimes, rather than it being, a frustrating and difficult effort. That's just one example of things that I've seen happen over the years in the industry where, otherwise high profile, well-meaning, bozo consultants end up missing the component that works to make it work. Bob, what might you add?
Well, I think the big point is that you definitely need. There's a lot of opportunity during this time, and don't sit on your hands. Please give us a call. We'd love to share with you that checklist that Master Oliver shared. Sounds like I got a lot of feedback.
Yeah.
Are you hearing that on your end? Yeah. And that marketing checklist is going to give you a ton of ideas that you can actually go out and do during the summertime to drum up some new students as you mentioned.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's it. That's exactly right. And again, we're happy to give you some other free tools as well. But the main thing I wanted to talk about today is just the thing I've never done before, which is 6-week intensive, no long-term commitment, relatively low price point, like massively low price point compared to what we're used to. But the design of it is to, in very rapid order, show people how to add a net 100 students, and I mean real students, not short-termers, to your school, and that's going to turn into $20,000 to $30,000 in monthly revenue. Our self-interest is 80 to 90% of the schools who raise their hand to work with us aren't at the level that they qualify. So our self-interest is to get them to the point that they could qualify if they want to move forward and work with us at the next level.
And no, you can. I mean, it's important, to bring up Ben. Remember, he could never get past 16,000 in his school. Just never thought it was possible, and couldn't figure it out. And he hasn't even been with us a year. And I mean, he's more than quadruple.
Yeah, he's at month 6. He's gone from 16,000 to over 60,000.
Right.
And went from 106 students to 265, I think the number is. Again, the recording is on that YouTube channel that I just shared. And again, going back to Nathaniel's question is, I think our record is 850 over 2 weekends in a movie theater. 150 appointments is one that we've hit a lot. Again, if I'm in the dollar cinema and it's second run movies and there's not a lot of traffic, that's not going to work. But we had, I think, 250 events at a fair last year, or 250 appointments at a fair last year. We had another one that was 210 appointments in got 8 hours at an event. I mean, you can kind of go through the list, and sometimes those sound like, and a few of them are outliers. But there is just an awful lot of opportunity there. But just don't miss the point. There's massive opportunity over the summer, and there's all kinds of stuff you can do. And again, if you only had a couple takeaways, always do the Parthenon. Get a lot of stuff going on. And I know most people, frankly, they sit down and they draw a blank, or they start to do things that are low return activities. And I'm always looking for the highest leverage possible. And we're start somebody who's at the lower end of the scale with how to do it with labor and not money. And then obviously we can go to, big pay-per-click campaigns, big Facebook campaigns, big direct mail campaigns, and so forth as you create liquidity. All of our top schools, by the way, are running 50 to 60% net profit. So once you get $100,000 a month school, one of them was 2 locations, 1.5 million last year, 750 net. Another one was 90,000 a month, or is 90,000 a month with about 50,000 a month net, and I could go on and on for 25, 30 examples of that. Anyway, on that note, Bob, anything to add to the group?
Nothing. Just to reiterate, as you mentioned about the movie theater event where you advanced, the one school where they had the young students sitting behind the table, and that just won't work. So, the things that are on the market and the way our guys implement, the way it's executed makes a big impact on the results. So we're looking forward to chatting with you and diagnosing some of the things that maybe you've done, we haven't done, and out in 6 weeks. 6 weeks. Great offer.
Yeah, and Bob, we'll spend a little bit more time with Demio and see if we can, figure out how to get this to really work. But most of the challenges weren't it working. Most of it was hail, thunderstorms and my internet connection crapped out. You know, luckily my cell phone connection surprisingly was strong enough. So, you know, if it had been Zoom, there's no way that would have worked. So I guess the bandwidth requirements for Demio isn't as bad as it is for Zoom.
Gotcha.
You know, having been there a couple times with Zoom, and, you know, it just is a disaster.
Right.
Okay. Well, give Bob a call, 720-256-0208. You know, for purpose 1, 2, or 3, purpose 1, just some free answers to some questions on what exactly you're missing. Number 2, to learn more and see if you qualify for our 6-week, everything you need to do to add 100 new students. And, you know, the mission will be to add 100 new students in 6 weeks to 3 months. You know, that's the kind of the best case, worst case scenario for that plan. And, you know, I've said it a number of times, but, you know, back when I did a lot of startups myself, you know, my mission was always 100 students in the first 30 days, and it was 200 students in the first 90 days. And every time I hit that, and every grand opening plan I put together for any of our clients, they've hit that. So it's completely doable. I've done it a bunch. I've done it face-to-face, belly-to-belly, and I've done it putting together the plan overall, including now, you know, out in the field right now and what's working now. So there's no gap in opportunity. But, you know, one of 3 things, it can be just some free advice. It could be to go into the 6-week, high intensity, low cost, no obligation process, or it could be, you know, to inquire at the higher end. So if you're a, you know, 20,000 a month school or up, and our, you know, at our high end, we've got an awful lot of $1 million plus, you know, 7, you know, we've got a number of schools now whose target in the next 12 months is $2 million a year in a single location. So happy to share what they're doing and get you on that track if you're at that level. On that note, we'll call it a day. Thank you, Bob. I have my apologies again for my technical difficulties, and Bob will do some more trial runs to get all the various handouts and stuff that I was trying to do to actually cooperate this time.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.